Yay. Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. So we've got local people, Penticton through Roz, Louisiana, Wyoming, and Marie. Amazing. Virginia through relationships beat algorithms. So good to have you guys here from Edmonton, the Bronx, Newfoundland. So good. Summerland. It's like the other side of Canada and like a 20-minute drive. Atlanta, Chicago, Utah, Massachusetts. So good. Australia, the other side of the world. Amazing. From George Bryant. So good. Through Karina, Ontario, 100 Mile. Oh, so good. South Africa, wonderful. Now in Oregon, Arizona. I love this. I love this so much. I'm going to be using the analogy of gridding. So I'm going to come back to how we have literally created this beautiful energetic grid that is literally worldwide by all being here connected today. I'm so grateful to be in this space with you guys. And I'd love to just hear from you. Maybe like rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, just to get a sense. One being like brand new, know nothing about numerology. 10 being like, I know numerology, I calculate numbers all the time. What is your comfort with familiarity or whatever with numerology? One brand new, 10 being like, I'm a numerologist. I love it. We've got a mix in here, some beginners, some middle of the road people, some highly skilled numerologists with me. I love it. And then maybe just let me know new if you're new to trainings and workshops with me. And I mean, don't put old. What's the opposite? If you've been to one of my trainings before, yeah, just let me know if you've been to one of my trainings or this is the first time you've been to one of my trainings. Newbie, not newbie. How about like skilled, experienced? First time, amazing. So fun. Okay, I love it. Tina, you cannot rate yourself a 3. I'm like, you're higher than 3, I would say. Um, First training, but not new. Amazing. Okay, let's dive in. So, for those of you who have never worked with me before, my name is Megan Alton. I like to call myself the economist turned numerologist. My background is in economics. I have a master's degree in econ and I actually started my career doing forecasting of government revenue. That is what I did for many years. I worked for the province of Alberta and I would look at their data and have these big spreadsheets. And I would be like, all right, looking at these patterns, how much money does the government have to spend? What do they have available for their budget? That was my job for many years. Then I got pregnant with my first kid. I have 3 kids. I got pregnant with my first kid, and that created a massive intuitive awakening. And I just could never come back from that. Like for those of you who had intuitive awakenings, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like you cannot look at the world through the same lens anymore. And after I had my first baby, I actually moved back to Kelowna, which is where I live now. It's in British Columbia in Canada on the West Coast, just probably about 4 hours from Vancouver. And I live here with my 3 little kidlets. It's the town I grew up in. It's such an incredible place. I love it. There's lakes and mountains and camping and hiking in the summer and snowboarding in the winter. It's amazing. But I came back here when I had my baby because I was like, I need to live in a town where I have some support around me, right? Like a support network, family, and things like that. And it was a smaller town, and back then nobody was working online, and so it kind of forced my hand in the sense that I was working for a corporate at the time and completely unfulfilled, and I didn't want to stay. And so it forced my hand to break out to be self-employed. And I started out as a business coach. That was kind of like my zone of genius. It's what I studied in university. It felt completely natural. But behind the scenes, for my business coaching clients, I was like doing their numerology grids. I was looking at their number charts. And then that I would use that to inform them in how I advised them and how I coached them and how we came up with marketing plans, sales strategies, customer journeys, all that kind of stuff. I would look at their codes because tell me if this is ever, if you've ever experienced this before, but if you take someone's process and you try to make it work for you, but yet their codes, their energy runs differently than yours does, it won't work. it won't work. If you try, let's say I'm a ruling seven. If you try as a ruling seven, that's me, to implement a strategy that's taught to you by a ruling number four and you follow it the way they teach it, it works for them, but it will not work for you, right? And when you understand this, this is game changing. When you understand that the way you do life, the way you move through life, the way you connect, the way you create, the way you make a difference, make an impact is actually determined by how your energy works, the whole world can open up to you. Because once you understand that, you can still receive guidance and advice from people whose codes run different than yours, absolutely. But you understand where and how to shift, tweak, and adjust to make it honor your nature, right? To make it work for you. And so there's a certain way that energy runs. And when you understand how to work with that, it's literally the make or break, in my experience, of being able to accomplish, to create without burnout. Because here's the thing. We can force ourselves to work against our codes. You can force yourself. Like I'm not naturally, I'm going to use the 4 and 7 example relatively frequently because it's been one I've really been working on. I'm not naturally inclined to be overly structured. That's just not in seven's nature. However, I can learn it. I can develop it. If I lean into it too hard, though, it will exhaust me. Just like if anybody here is introverted, right? If you're introverted, you can go out and be social. Of course you can, but it will drain you if you do it too much and you don't give yourself space to recharge. It's the same when you work against your code. Okay. So I'm really curious, how many of you guys already know what your ruling number is? Some people call it life path number. Some people call it ruling number. If you know what it is, pop it in the chat. I love it. We've got a PNC grad here. I think we have a few PNC grads here. PNC is practical numerology certification, and that's my numerology certification program. Oh my gosh, look at you guys are all so good. You all know your numbers. Amazing. If you don't worry. I'm going to walk you through it. We've got 5, 11, 4, 8, 5, 30. Yeah, 3, 30, 4, 5, 4, 7. So good. 33, 6. Amazing. 4, 6. So good. 9, 9, 9, 9. Okay. Love it. You figured it out thanks to my workbook. Yay. I love it. There's a couple people in here saying 1. A lot of numerologists will work with 1s as ruling numbers. I don't. It feels like a very incomplete number to me. If you're a 1, it's the same as being a 10. So when you look at my resources, you'll look at the 10. The 1, it feels very incomplete. I use 1 when we're looking at manifestation and things like that, forecasting energy, because 1 represents start, new beginning, activation, seeds being planted, initiation, that kind of thing. But as a ruling number, as someone who's going to live a big, thick, full, rich life with ups and downs and creation and destruction and all the things that comes with it, I actually prefer to look at the 10 because the 10 represents innovation, right? All the people who are 1s or 10s are innovators. And 10 represents the idea of the wheel of change, right? So when you're a 1, you're actually a 10, in my opinion, and you take in information and experiences, you innovate and start again, innovate and start again. So it's never a brand new from scratch beginning. It's based on the history and experience you already have, right? Okay. Yay. So if you don't know what your ruling number is, I'm going to walk you guys really quickly on how to calculate it. It's super basic. Once you know how to do this, be prepared that you're going to start like doing it for all of your friends and family and loved ones and kidlets and besties and colleagues and all of it because it's addicting. But all you do basically is you take your first, like all the digits from your birthday. So month, day, year. You'll end up with like 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, 4 digits for the year, and you split them up and you add them all up. Okay, so I'm February 5th, 1980. So it's like 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0. When I add all of those up, I get 25. If you're doing someone's birthday and they're born like in 2000, you might get a small number, but for most of us, we're going to get a big number like 25 or 30 or 45 or 12 or whatever. Once you get that big number, if it's bigger than 11, you separate it and add it up again, right? So for me, I got 25. So the 2 plus the 5 equals 7. You guys with me? Anybody who didn't know before, do you guys know what it is now? If you need help, you can always pop your birthday in the chat. And I know that some of our brilliant numerologists on the call will come in and help you. Yay, everyone's figuring it out. So, so good. Okay, before I go into further teaching around the numerology, I really would love to take a second and land in with you guys. Yay, we got people figuring it out. So good. 11, 8, wonderful. I always say that to me, numerology is using the language of numbers to interpret energy. The energy patterns are already all around you. You're completely surrounded in them. You might already feel and sense them, depending on where you're at with your relationship with your intuition. You might have downloads, gut feelings, hunches. You might have a clairsense that's very active, like clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, whatever it is. You might just feel things, sense things. Okay. This is your ability to pick up on energy. Okay. So you already can do this. Learning numerology gives you a language to speak and articulate that energy even more clearly, even more precisely, even more potently. And it allows you to have this two-way conversation to strengthen that relationship. Okay. So, because of that, I want to invite you to do a little practice with me today to turn your intuition on, to bring your whole self into this conversation so that you are listening and co-creating this with your intuition, and you get to choose what fits and aligns with you and pick up the pieces that are meant for you and let go of the pieces that aren't meant for you, right? Bring your intuition on board to this conversation, and to every conversation in life. Allows you to be like discerning and empowered, allows you to be a sovereign creator of your own experience in terms of this is what's a fit for me and this is what's not. All right, so you guys ready to do that with me? All right, so just taking a minute, bringing your energy into center. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And I just want you to take a minute and notice what is holding you, what is supporting you. You might notice yourself sitting in your desk chair like me, or maybe you're sitting in your couch. Maybe you're listening out for a walk. Wherever you are, just notice what is holding you. Notice your feet connected to the ground below you. Notice your your seat being held in your chair or on your couch. Notice your back being held by whatever you're rested on. Maybe even noticing your body being held by the clothing that you're wearing. And with every breath in, I just want you to really notice how it's like you're waking up all those little cells in your body that might have been a little bit sleepy or a little bit checked out. Notice that they're all turning inwards with your awareness. Noticing that they're all opening their eyes to sit in this space with you and co-create this experience with you. With every breath in, you're feeling that level of support. And with every exhale, you're noticing yourself just coming more and more into your center. Welcoming whatever sensations and insights want to arise for you. And we'll take a few breaths together. So in through the nose. Out through the mouth. Acknowledging and noticing that sensation of support and connection. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Feeling that sense of your strength and your power and your center. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Okay. Oh, thank you for doing that with me. All right. So let's take a second, and I want to start off in an area that might not be the most popular area to start off in, but we're going to do it anyways. I want to just think a little bit about challenges and life purpose for a minute here. So to me, I was really drawn to study numerology because I really wanted to understand why I'm here. What is the point of all of this for me? And I was one of those kids who these were always questions I had. Like I remember being a little kid, like I don't know, 6 or 7, and asking my mom, like, why are there people? I couldn't make sense of what was the point of all of this, right? And I just want to check in with you guys. How many of you, yeah, Claire, if you're 25, you're a 7, and that's actually the same code as me. I'm a 25/7 as well. I want to check in with how many of you who've also felt this sense of like, there needs to be a reason for this. There needs to be a purpose for this, or I need to have a reason, or I need to have a purpose. How many of you have felt that way? If you felt that way, even slightly, I'd love to hear in the chat. Yeah. 11. Cheryl saying yes. Angela Tracy, absolutely. 100%. Yes. Bev, Carrie, you guys are all with me. I needed to understand that there was a reason why we go through the experiences we go through. Not the same as we're asking for them to happen to us, but to understand why and what is the purpose of it all, and how does it actually impact why I'm here, what I'm here to do, why am I the way I am, right? Yes, still finding out what my purpose is. 100%, Ainsley. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, right? I mean, I teach people what their purpose is. I will teach you what your purpose is through your code. But in my opinion, it is never a one and done. It is one of those things where it's an evolution, it's a deepening. Every experience we have is going to unveil more wisdom, more knowledge, more experience, more information that will continue to support us, right? This is exactly why I study numerology, because I want to understand this. So let me ask you another question. We basically all established that we are like, okay, what is the purpose I'm here to fulfill? What is it? It needs to mean something. How many of you have also felt recently, or maybe not so recently, I don't know, but definitely recently for me, that there has been some significant challenges that you've been facing over the last few years, let's say. Let's contextualize it in the last few years. For me, massive, massive challenges. Oh my God, yes. 100% for sure. Yeah. Every day. Yes, massive. Right? So often when we face challenges, we have, a choice. It's not necessarily binary, right? There could be, there's shades of gray in all of this, but there's basically kind of like a decision to be made. And the decision will flip back and forth for most of us between, number one, like, I just want to check out. I just want to ignore, disassociate, check out, avoid, like numb, like pretend it doesn't exist. I have been joking with one of my besties that my most effective life strategy these days is the delusional life strategy, where I'm like literally feel like my delusions fuel me in life these days. Oh my gosh. So how many of you guys have also felt that sense of like needing to like check out, needing to just like, I can't. I can't because of the intensity of it, right? I can't because it's so much. That's normal. That happens to everybody. We're not wrong for it so often. When we have a tool like numerology, there's other tools we can do this with as well. But when we have a tool like numerology, we can also dose ourselves with the other choice, which is what is happening? What is the opportunity? What is the purpose? What is this birthing in me? And that's my favorite question, right? What is this birthing in me? What is this birthing in me? And this is related to understanding and deepening in your life purpose. Okay. When you face a challenge, you are coded to experience the challenges that you're experiencing. That's not to say that you asked for them, you deserve them, you should have had them, whatever. That's not the same thing. But what I want to understand, or what I see through the lens of numerology, you try this on and tell me if it fits with your belief systems, is that at the soul level, I was like, okay, soul, you want to learn how to have a really good intuition. You want to learn what it means to be highly sensitive. You want to learn how to have a strong sense of compassion and empathy and really feel feelings. You want to learn that. All right. Okay, let's give you the perfect combination of codes and energies where all of that stuff is going to be amplified for you. Okay, go team. You're going to bump into other people who are going to trigger these lessons for you. You're going to meet each other in these random circumstances. They might become your parents. They might become your children. They may become your spouse. They might become a best friend. They might become the cashier at the grocery store who triggers you or whatever, right? You're going to go and you're going to bump into each other and you're going to trigger these different life circumstances. And in these challenges, you're going to meet yourself. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Go team. Huddle end. Off we go. We get born. Okay. We get born. We show up with these codes. Obviously, we don't remember these conversations. We face challenges in order to learn what it is we chose to learn. So for me, I was like, I want to learn about intuition. I want to learn about energy. I want to learn about spirituality and spiritual connection and how spirit and purpose and meaning shows up in life. That's in my code. Anybody who looked at my chart would see that. So how do I learn that? How do I learn what intuition is? Well, number one, I learn what it is by experiencing a lack of it. I experience feeling stuck. I experience feeling lost. I experience overly relying on the opinions of others to give me advice. Experience the lack of it first. I'm not saying everybody will, but what I am saying is that when you face a challenge that's directly related to your code, it's an activation. It's where we get the choice, right? The choice I mentioned earlier of like, oh my God, am I just going to like check out, disconnect, head in the sand? Valid choice, valid choice. And you will dose yourself with it at points in your life because we have to. That is just what it means to be human sometimes. And I can also choose like, ooh, what is this challenge birthing in me? I'm feeling a lack of direction. I'm feeling a lack of intuition. What is it birthing in me? Well, first of all, it's birthing in me this desire to connect deeper with spirit. I'm telling my story now, right? I want to have a stronger intuition. I want to feel that strong psychic connection. I used to have multiple best friends who were highly psychic. And I felt like I had no spiritual and psychic and intuitive gifts. For those of you who've like worked with me for a while, you guys always think this story is so funny because now I'm like a professional intuitive. People hire me for readings all the time, but I didn't always have that. I wanted it first through being triggered by a challenge. Okay. So what I'm inviting you to do is I'm inviting you to get curious about some of the challenges that you've been facing lately. So take a minute, jot down on your page, what are some of the challenges you've been facing? Many of us, if we're facing challenges associated with the 8 energy year, they might be around things like, where does abundance come from? Where does empowerment come from? Where does devotion to my craft come from? Right? And we might be facing challenges around the lack of those things. Some of the challenges that people are experiencing right now are around imposter syndrome or Financial scarcity. That's a challenge associated with an 8 energy year, which is what we're in 2024. So I want you to just jot down some of the challenges you've been facing. Okay. Think to your mind, because this exercise is going to work so much better if you have a circumstance that applies to you. Okay. Maybe it's relationship challenges. Maybe it's, growing your business challenges, whatever it is. If anyone wants to share in the chat, I would love to see your examples. Of course, you don't have to, but you're always welcome to share if you want to. Yeah. And Marissa's, she knows her chart really well. And so she knows that last year was a 8 energy personal year for her. Absolutely. So she's already gone through some of the challenges that we're going through as a collective right now. So good. Once you've kind of got a sense of some of the challenges you've been facing recently, yeah, no motivation in literally anything and low energy. Absolutely. Too much to do and not enough time. Lack of direction, emotional overwhelm, no motivations, no finances, making decisions of where to reside and set up retirement and way to make income. Developing intuitive skills. You're speaking my language, following through and manifesting money, financial scarcity, too much time and a lack of direction. My child's anxiety. Oof, my heart is with you. It is such a hard thing when our children are struggling. Time management, procrastination. Yeah. Making decisions when I know they're not the right ones for me. Oh, yes. Feeling overwhelmed, financial issues, lack of motivation. I'm nervous because I'm an 8 and it's an 8 energy year. Is this going to be a double whammy for me? No, it might not be. It might be. I don't know. There's a lot of factors that determine how we experience all of the energies. So number one, I would say, if you are like, how is this going to show up for me? Reach out for a one-on-one reading. From either me or another numerologist or any intuitive reader for that matter to go deeper on that. Just because you are an 8 and it's an 8 year does not mean it's going to be a double whammy for you. It also can be an expanded opportunity for you. But wait till we walk through the processes we're walking through today and see if that gives you more context. Experiencing anger, imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is such an 8 energy shadow. Yeah. Anger, repeat cycles, nothing fits. Oh my God. Yes. I'm like, I don't know if we're talking about physically or metaphorically, but like both, right? Finding myself and my purpose amongst the default parent. Yeah. This is so good, you guys. Okay. Does everyone have their workbook handy that I emailed out last night? I think I emailed it out last night and again this morning. What I want you to do is I want you to scroll to the section that indicates the challenges associated with your number. Okay, so it starts around here. And I want you to just scan through with, soft eyes and take a look at what are the challenges that you feel in your number relate to the challenges you're experiencing right now. Okay. I know we've kind of talked a little bit about the 8 energy year. I obviously didn't give year descriptions in here, but spoiler alert, you can actually take a peek at the 8 energy ruling number, and that will still to some degree apply. So there's 2 places you can look. Number one, I would start by looking at your ruling number and what are the challenges associated with your ruling number. And then if you want another place to look, feel free to read 8, being that we're all in an 8 energy universal year right now. Christine, this is so classic in 8. Unsatisfied in my current job, wanting to move into healing work. So wanting to do what you feel you're here to do, feeling imposter syndrome. This is classic of an 8, okay? Because the 8 is here to be the master. The 8 is here to be so devoted. The 8 is here to get fulfillment out of depth. fulfillment out of commitment to walking their path and doing their work. So if you're unsatisfied in your job, that's birthing something in you. If you were satisfied in your job, would you consider pursuing a different path that might be more meaningful to you if your job made you happy? Probably not, right? So then it's not telling you to make adjustments, right? The lack of satisfaction is the challenge that's birthing in you this question of, is it possible for me to make this choice? How would I make this choice? What would it take to make this choice? What would be a win on this path? Right. And so those are questions I would start to instead of thinking the unsatisfying job is the problem, what if the unsatisfying job is the portal? And this is ultimately the goal here for me. The goal, I mean, I don't know if it's the goal is the right word, but to me, your challenge is a portal. Your challenge is an initiation. Your challenge is an activation. So when I feel it, like I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this example, which is why I'm talking about it so much. But if I'm feeling unsatisfied in my job or unsatisfied in a relationship or a town or a friendship, right? If I'm feeling unsatisfied in that, it's not a problem. It's a portal. It's showing me and pointing me where there's an opportunity for my gift to be strengthened. The challenge is the door that I get to decide, am I willing to walk through this challenge in order to strengthen my gift, to strengthen my energy? And I kind of use the concept of gift energy, synonymous with purpose. Our purpose here is to express our energy. Our purpose here is to contribute, to grid, to anchor, to embody our energy. And it's not a one and done, right? Like me, what was it now? It was, I think, 11 years ago that I quit my corporate job. Me quitting my corporate job and starting my own business 11 years ago, that was one layer. And then when I decided to launch my numerology certification, that was another layer. And then when I decided to expand that, that was another layer. And every time I'm faced with a bump, a challenge, a crunchy feeling, it's that portal again of like, oof, okay, something's being birthed here. Am I willing to sit with it? I was actually just joking with one of my besties a few weeks back about how we kind of feel like business is the same as being like 6 centimeters dilated forever. Like forever. Like, the baby's coming at some point, but when is the question? And when we can start to look at our challenges as portals, that's when everything's going to shift. Okay, so I have a few people in the comments questioning about their workbook. So email is my best friend right now. Loving it. I am ending up in many of your spam folders. So please, please, please check your spam folder. Mark me as safe. Put me in the primary. If you don't want my email, it's totally fine. Unsubscribe. But just with the way email deliverability has changed, it's just a lot of tech to get all the things happening. If you do that and you still don't find your workbook, DM me and I will make sure that you get it because it's obviously really helpful. If you don't have a workbook and you want me to look at your number, then just put your number in the chat and say I don't have a workbook and I'll scroll to that section. Okay, I'm just looking through the comments. All of it. Getting lost in the mind and hiding is the gift of the 9. Right. I love that, Brianna. It's so true. The 9 Well, I mean, the 3 and the 6 can do this too, but the 9 especially, we can get lost in the mind. And that's because the 9 is here to understand a higher perspective, getting overthinking, ruminating, reflecting. That's one energy. The other energy is audit, review, and expansion, right? Of like, let me run through what's working, what's not working. Let me decide what is the higher perspective here. How do I evolve this here? Because 9 is an evolutionary mirror. That's my summary of a 9. It's going to mirror back things to you that belong and don't belong in order for you to decide, how am I going to evolve? Yeah, Angela's relating with the 8, overwhelmed by emotions, insecurity, craving love. Absolutely. Yes. I completely identify with Christine. Yeah, I mean, Christine, we are all Christine right now. We all have some area of lack of satisfaction. Oh my Lord, it's so true. But it's so interesting how that shifts when I stop making it wrong. I don't know where our conditioning story dominant narrative became that it should all be happy, sunshine, rainbow, butterfly, easy. It's not the problem that's the problem. It's my relationship with the problem, right? The the feeling, stuck, whatever the challenge is, that's okay. Like I can allow that. It's when I think it's wrong to have a challenge that the problem happens, right? When I make myself wrong for the struggle, when I make myself wrong for the confusion or the uncertainty or the overwhelm or whatever the thing is, that's the problem. If I can allow it and accept it, that's where I get to have power. That's where I get to think about the energies. I'm going to work through this with you guys to create alchemy. That's where we're going with this, by the way. If you're like, where is Megan going with this? Where I'm going with this is when we understand how our challenge is a portal and when we understand what opportunity is being birthed in it, that is where we get to create alchemy. Okay. That is the type of numerology that I like to teach because I do not believe anything is I don't know if predetermined is even the right word because the energy certainly is, but how you experience the energy, that's 100% your free will. That's 100% your choice as to how to engage in it and how it unfolds, right? Okay. Caught between two worlds. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, if you decide to flip through here and look at all the numbers, chances are you will resonate with multiple numbers. And that's because those numbers are going to show up in other places in your chart, right? We're only looking at your ruling number right now and the universal year. That's 2 places. There's probably 30 places I can look in your chart to give you a sense of understanding your challenges. We're just looking at 2 of them. So if you're reading other sections and you're like, that fits for me too, then take it. You're allowed to. You're allowed to take it. If you want to know where it sits in your chart, then reach out for a reading and we can get more into detail in that. But if you resonate with multiple places, then that's totally reasonable. Yeah. 11. I can't look at my work memoirs. Okay, we'll scroll down at 11. Ooh, Amber, everyone expects sunshine and rainbows from you always. I want to ask if you have a 6 anywhere in your chart. It's thank you, Claire. Thank you for dropping that in the link. That is such a 6 vibe. Everyone expects sunshine and rainbows from you always, right? Ooh, so I'm not going to dive into the 6 too deeply right now, but if you're in a 6 season, that makes perfect sense. If that resonates with you or as it resonates with anybody, just read the 6 because you're going through a 6 lesson, whether it's a season, a life path, a day energy, a year energy, doesn't matter. That's a 6 lesson right there. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to 11. Somebody asked about 11. 11, the challenges of 11, your opinions can be off-putting, you have high expectations, You might not be able to live up to them. You can get defensive, pushing people and love away. You can find it easy to fall into fights and battling with others. Judgment, black and white thinking can be a trap for you. You may feel taken advantage of and find it hard to trust others. Nothing like just like calling out all the negative stuff, right? Okay. What I got to read. Yeah. So then you could definitely be in a numerology. Sorry. You could definitely be in a season of that. If you're like, I don't know what my seasons are. I don't know what my chart is. Book a reading. You can either get a reading with myself, or I would highly recommend any of the numerologists who've trained under me before, who've certified with me. Obviously, if you meet someone and you resonate with them, then go and get one, or message me either way. If you are one of the certified numerologists, feel free to pop your name in the chat as well. Yeah, so Michelle is saying I'm a 4 and she is a 31 4, right? Like I'm a 7, I'm a 25 7. You can also look at those aspects, right? So when you look at your ruling number, you look at the 2 numbers that made it up, okay? So the 2 numbers that made it up will also influence you to some degree, okay? And of course, we're going to have life circumstances, potentially ADHD, or the way our childhood was, or the way we were raised, or the teachers we had, or the society we grew up in, and the belief systems that were imposed on us because of all of those things. Remember, those can all be viewed through the lens of a code too. The society we live in carries the beliefs it has because of a dominance of thought from a large group of people who carry certain traits, right? So a common one that I like to reference is a reference known as the arrow of determination, which means you have a 1 and a 5 and a 9 in your chart. Many people born in 19 something have a 1, a 5, and a 9 in their chart. Many of them. So many of us carry the arrow of determination. I carry it. Anybody who's got a 5 in their chart somewhere that's born in 19 something carries this arrow. So that informs collective thinking because there's a dominance of thought around it. So what is the arrow of determination? The arrow of determination is this idea that when you start something, you finish it. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. When you put your mind to something, you finish it. How many of you guys recognize any of those like statements from the way you were raised? Like, right? Probably a lot of us have parents born in 1950 something as well, right? Let alone the fact that it was a dominant narrative in our society. So there's a reason why that's a good trait. That is partly the reason why we've been able to achieve the technological feats in the 1900s we have. There's so many reasons why that's a good thing. It's also a bad thing. There's good and bad in everything. There's light and shadow in everything. The shadow of that is I will achieve at all costs. I will ignore my symptoms of burnout. I will ignore the harm I might be placing on others by this accomplishment that I said I would finish. I will ignore the environmental damage that I've created by saying I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y. It allowed us to, or it did not allow us to change our mind as we were moving through things when more information became available. And so there's always good and bad. There's always going to be challenges that you may or may not see in your chart, but you may be experiencing because of the belief systems of the collective around you, and that's totally fine. And I think this is why I really like understanding numerology in this way, because you get to start somewhere, find that sense of empowerment, and let that ripple out from there. Just because I was raised with this idea that when you start something, you finish it, and no matter what, you don't change your mind. Now that I'm aware of that pattern, I get to decide how I play with that. I get to decide through my awareness and my conscious decisions when it serves me and when it doesn't. Same with the one I pointed out to, which is a shadow of a 6, which is like everyone expects sunshine and rainbows from me. When do I choose to play in that energy? When do I choose to opt out? And like, can I just be like a miserable grouch and like let that be a thing? And would that be okay? And what would happen if I did? And let me play in that zone for a minute and see what that even looks like. And would my world fall apart if I was a miserable grouch for a little while, right? Just be the Grinch. It'll be fine. Like, it's okay, right? When you start to think of some of these energies as the portal and play with some of them, maybe as like, because some of those examples I just shared, those are like playing with archetypes. Like, I'm going to let myself be the Grinch. That's like playing with an archetype, right? Remembering that this is a portal to activate something. This is a portal that's opening a door to something. Okay. So what I want to do next is, yes. Oh, I love that. Tina is such a great person to go to for this. Reviewing her views on autism, ADHD, and neurodivergence. She's got multiple children with neurodivergence, and she has studied numerology and created massive healing in her family lines through helping her family and her children understand who they are through their codes, rather than looking at it as a problem or a limit, and created massive family repair. So this is just so powerful, and so healing when we can really, see each other for who we are versus what was expected of us or how we were conditioned, right? Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the description of what your ruling number is and the challenges. And I want you to just pick out one or two that hit you. You're like, yeah, that's the thing, right? Somebody mentioned getting lost in their mind. Somebody else mentioned, I can't remember what you guys all mentioned now, but different things, stuck by indecision, whatever the thing is. I want you to write down that thing, the challenge. So it's very clear to you. What is the challenge in like 5 words or less? Okay. Once you have your challenge in front of you, inaction from overthinking, beautiful, beautiful. Once you have that challenge in front of you, I invite you to sit with it for a minute. Close your eyes, back into your feeling, sensing, intuiting body, and ask yourself, what is the inverse of this? What is the flip of this? What is the inverse? What is the opposite of this? In other words, where is this portal leading me to? So Claire's example, inaction from overthinking. To me, the flip of that, like, I know what I feel the flip is that, but I'm really curious what's coming up for Claire around that. And for the rest of you guys, as you're processing what yours are, Michelle is saying, have to do everything. The inverse of that is create a team. Absolutely. Right. And when you think about to create a team, like, this is so good, Michelle. Michelle, I hope you're okay if I use this example for a minute. If I feel I have to do everything, the inverse of that is to create a team. Well, in order for me to effectively use a team, I would need to trust them to whatever. In order for me to trust other people, that means I actually have to trust myself. So what if the lesson of thinking I have to do everything is actually a lesson in learning to trust myself? And once I learn to trust myself, how does that create the portal to trust others? Dimming my light and hiding would be your challenge. Absolutely. And Claire is saying, take action, imperfect action. 100%, Claire. Yeah. Take action, imperfect action. And what if you allowed yourself, like, the thing that comes up for me with that is like, what if I just let myself do it wrong? Right? Like, if I overthink because I need it to be perfect, what if I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to do it wrong? Like, who cares? Who is judging me? Who has the report card right now? Like, who is grading me? Like, let me mess it up. All right. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I don't know if anyone else plays this game every now and then. And this is partly a 7 lesson as well, is you need to experiment and not be attached to outcome. So I play that game of like, okay, Megan, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the outcome's going to be. Well, just whatever, build the plane as you fly it, take the leap and figure out if the net's going to show up. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that's going to happen is the net doesn't show up. Then what? What does the crash and burn look like? And like, can I imagine surviving it? Because as soon as, in this lesson about letting yourself get it wrong, as soon as I make friends with what the crash and burn will look like, it no longer holds me anymore. It no longer controls me anymore, and it doesn't have to stop me anymore. And as soon as it doesn't stop me, now I'm unstoppable, right? As soon as I'm not afraid to crash the plane, that's fine. Like I'm good. I got a parachute. It's fine. I can crash the plane. Let me take a risk now. That's classic 7 right there, right? Is like, we're just going to leap and figure it out as we go. But in order to feel comfortable leaping, I have to have made friends with my greatest fear, right? Okay. Overwhelming emotions, healing my inner child. Oh, yes. Yes, 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 Angela. That is a big, big, big one. And like, if my emotions overwhelm me, like, okay. And like, is that okay? Can I have a space and time for that to be allowed? Because if that is no longer the thing, then what would be possible for me, right? Grounding. Absolutely. Grounding is huge for I would say for all of the person, so many different ways. But as a 5, yes, especially because you feel things, you feel everything. Lack of commitment, restlessness, and unpredictable. Every time I feel the lack of commitment or the like, don't want to take action, or the like, kind of like dejected feeling of like directionless feeling, is to me, it relates to self-trust again. I think I've brought up self-trust a few times. Clearly, this is one of the themes that wants to come through on this call. In my experience, typically when I see lack of commitment, it's not really lack of commitment, it's lack of belief. Because if you knew that if what you tried would be successful, would you try it? And if you would try it, then the lack of commitment is just showing yourself that you're not trusting yourself in the process. And I'm not saying it's an easy process to work through or that it's an easy solution, but usually when I see lack of commitment, there's an unhealthy relationship with success/failure and a lack of self-trust in trusting ourselves to figure it out, you know? And of course, if there's been unpredictability in like safety and security and survival, either in present day or historical, that lack feeling is not unfounded. It's not unfounded, right? And that requires some level of like trauma healing to move through some of that. Oof, stuck in my head, drop into my heart. Ravina, brilliant, such solid gold. Expecting rejection. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I don't know if you're saying that in a good way or a bad way, but like in a cheeky way, like, can I just let it be fine that I get rejected? Like, if someone rejects me, is that going to be okay? I teach this a lot when I talk about in my content group, in my content membership course, like, not everyone's going to agree with you, like your position, like your post. Some people might negative talk, shit talk, whatever. Like, and is that okay? Like, if someone doesn't like you, like, will you be okay if a random person doesn't agree? Like, yeah, I can handle that. All right. Well, then if you can handle it, who cares? Because guaranteed there are hundreds and thousands of people who need to hear exactly what it is or need to experience exactly what it is that you need to initiate. One of my favorite stories to tell is one of my mentors. She gave a speech like 10 years ago and was people who were at the presentation didn't like it. She received criticism for her speech. And her speech changed my life. She was the first coach I ever hired. And I always reflect back on that story of like, she got hate for that. Thank God she did it anyways. Because if she didn't do it, I would not be here. If she didn't do it, my journey would not have unfolded the way it did. I would not have the skills I have. So thank God she didn't let hate from a few random people who weren't her clients, weren't her family, weren't her loved ones, whatever, whatever. Thank goodness she didn't let it stop her because I needed it, right? That's a great question, Allison. What if you make a wrong life decision? What if? Like, I would sit with that question. What if? What if I did? What would happen? And what does it mean? This is the follow-up question. What does it mean to make a wrong decision? What is your relationship with right versus wrong? The so what game. I won't die, right? I literally remind myself of that all the time. Like, am I going to die? No. Then who cares? Is anyone going to die? No. Then who cares? Yeah. That is such a classic 7, Shamina. Attached to the outcome, feeling lonely, stuck, and misunderstood. That is classic 7. Yes. The shadow of the 9 is perfectionism, criticism, self-judgment. Rumination spiral. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going through this. It's easy to say I know what I should do versus actually doing it. There will always be haters. Yes. Oh my God. You guys are, yes. Some thoughts about me are not my business. I would argue all thoughts about you are not your business, right? Arguably. Yeah. So, so, so good. The other thing I love to say to myself is just because I think it doesn't make it true. Just because I think it doesn't make it true. I will repeat that to myself quite often, right? Of like, somebody's going to hate it. It's not going to work. I might fail. I might do this wrong, right? When someone was asking the question of like, what if you make it wrong? Like, is this the wrong choice? Just because I think it doesn't make it true, right? Okay. So what I want to do, we're at 1 o'clock now, we're at the hour. Our thoughts only have the power we give them. Absolutely. And I think that's been one of my favorite things about numerology is to see the pattern, articulate the pattern in a very clear band of energy. So every number has a band of energy that it works with. You've had the opportunity, the light, the high octave, and then you have the challenge, the shadow, the dark, the low octave. And it's not to me to judge what's the right side to be on or what's the good. These are not judgments. It's like a battery with a plus and a negative. Like, they're not judgments. It just is. It's just an experience. But now that I know what I'm working with, I can decide, okay, if I happen to see the shadow present, that band is there. That opportunity is there. How do I walk through the portal to access the thing I desire, the thing I want? Right? I guess that's where the judgment comes in, is the desire is a judgment in a sense of like, this is a good experience and I choose it, I want it, I desire it. Right? So that's what I'm hoping to leave you guys with today. And I want to come back tomorrow. The goal for tomorrow is to understand more. We've got this sense now where you understand some of your challenges in the light of ideally your ruling number. It doesn't actually matter, but just for ease of simplicity, because there is such a big group of us, distilling it to ruling number makes it somewhat easier. But you've got a sense of some of your challenges. And now you're starting to think of what's the inverse. So what is that polarity band that's present in this, right? So if the shadow is present, so is the light. What is that polarity band? And tomorrow we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about what the opportunity is that's present and how to use your portal, your challenge, your portal to activate that, what to do to create that, what to do to work with that side of the energy. Because of course we want the good experience, right? Of course, but it requires walking through that portal, which isn't always fun. But when you change your relationship with the problem, it makes everything different. It really makes everything different. So that about wraps up the main content for today. I'd love, love, love to hear in the chat what you guys are taking away. What's your number one lesson, your number one insight from today? And while you're thinking about that, I want to remind you guys of the bingo game we're playing. Who's playing bingo? Like, put a little thingy, a little heart, raise your hand, do a thing. If you're playing bingo with me, I'm giving away some really fun prizes. I'm giving away a numerology forecast with me. I'm giving away a business session with me. I'm also giving away an oracle deck from Whitney McNeil. She's an incredible oracle deck. And I'm also giving away crystals from Karina Del Pezzo. She is just genius at crystals. You can re-enter the bingo game as many times as you want with as many lines as you want. So some of the lines are really easy to earn, like resharing that you're participating in this challenge and inviting your friends to join you, reaching out in the Facebook group. You guys know I have a Facebook group, right? So reaching out in the Facebook group and connecting with other people who are studying this there and finding out if someone has the same number as you, connecting with them, inviting your friends to join, being on the call, got all of you guys a square. So you can screenshot it on your phone and just mark it up on your phone and email it to me once you've got lines, or you can obviously print it out and if you want and do it that way too. We have 2 more calls. We've got a call tomorrow, same time, same place, where I already told you what we're going to be doing there. And then we also have another call on Thursday where I'll be talking more about how you can work with this in the people in your lives to support you, whether it's personally or professionally. This was so fun. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are, oh yeah, I love crystals too. And you're going to love it because Karina is a certified numerologist and she picks crystals for people according to their energy and codes. So she'll select one for you that's energetically aligned, which will be super amazing. Yay. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah, you guys are playing bingo. When I first came up with this idea, I was like, is this kind of dorky and lame? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of dorky. So hopefully you guys are dorky too, and we can all play bingo together and it'll be really fun. I invite you to join the Facebook community, the Alchemy Codes community. I will pop that in the chat for any of you who are not in it. Actually, I can't pop it in the chat now, but I will email it out. If you guys are not getting my emails, DM me and let me know so I can make sure that you do. And please make sure to whitelist my emails. You email them back to me. Email them back to me when they're complete, your bingo cards. Anybody have any questions for me? Now it's a free for all. So you can unmute if you want to say anything, if you want to express anything, if you want to ask anything. Ah, you guys are the best. You should have received a bingo card by email. So if you signed up for the challenge, you would have got one in your email. If you didn't get one, DM me after the call and I'll sort you out. Thanks, Amanda. I'm so glad. Thank you. Okay. Are you guys going to come back tomorrow? Am I going to see you again tomorrow? Yay. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Mwah. Look forward to seeing you soon and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Bye, everyone.